What you're really after isn't change, it's freedom. But the method you've been handed is fixing yourself over and over. Sound familiar? Spotting flaws, analyzing problems, trying to build a better version of you step by step. But fixing ties you to the very injuries you're trying to escape. Real transformation doesn't come from repair. It comes from coherence. When you learn to compose and broadcast a new reality signal that's strong enough to replace the old one. That's what I'm here to show you today. I'm Amara Strand. Welcome to my podcast. There's a particular function of the synthetic mind that I call fix-it mode. On the surface, it looks responsible, even admirable. It's the voice that says, spot the flaw, solve the problem, improve yourself. But while it works fine for logistics, it fails when it comes to the freedom you're really after. Because living in fix-it mode doesn't just keep you busy, it keeps you entangled with an identity shaped by the past. With the injuries you're still rehearsing how to heal. With the silent indictment you carry as proof of what was done to you. And here's the hidden trap. Part of you resists letting go because if you no longer carry the damage, it can feel like letting the people who hurt you off the hook. Fix-it mode feels safe, even virtuous, because your nervous system knows how to orient around incremental change over time. But transformation isn't built on struggle or incremental improvement. It demands the death of the old identity, that discontinuous break, where the self you've been dissolves and a new coherence is allowed to take its place. In this episode, I'll show you why fix-it mode can never deliver transformation, why stepping beyond it feels so dangerous, and how to begin composing the reality signal that reorganizes your entire experience from the inside out. In the last episode, I talked about the difference between your natural and synthetic minds. Today, I want to zero in on one function of the synthetic mind that you may not really be aware of, though it might be quietly shaping your entire approach to life. And I'm talking about fix-it mode. Think of it as a magnifying glass. It's excellent when you need to zero in on a specific problem, but if you walk around looking through it all the time, your whole world becomes distorted. Its purpose is narrow. Detect problems, and generate solutions. It scans your world, highlights deficiencies, and locks you into a cycle of improvement and fixing. For mechanical issues or logistical challenges, fix-it mode is brilliant. But when you make it the default setting for your life, for your relationships, your identity, your transformation, the loop never ends. Spot problems, devise fixes, apply solutions, and then start over. Each cycle reinforces the same identity, a person who is broken or inadequate and needs fixing. Fix-it mode turns your perception into a problem detection lens. You automatically scan for what's wrong, what's missing, what's insufficient. Your synthetic mind produces an endless stream of deficiencies, and the more you listen, the more broken you appear, the more broken the world appears. And the cost? It's enormous. You stop living from wholeness and instead you shape your experience from a premise of deficiency. Life becomes a treadmill of diagnosis and repair, while the actual transformation you long for never quite arrives. Here's why fix-it mode fails so badly when it comes to personal change. It's fundamentally reactive, not creative. Fix-it mode can only modify what already exists. It tries to sand down rough edges, manage symptoms, patch holes. But transformation isn't modification. Transformation is discontinuous. It's not step-by-step progress. It's a complete reconfiguration of your energetic state. It's like an electron. An electron doesn't crawl gradually from one orbit to another. It disappears from one state and reappears in a new one, skipping the in-between entirely. When you run fix-it mode, you're always someone with a problem who's working on it. When you shift into reality composition, you stop being the one who needed fixing in the first place. That's the leap. Not better coping strategies, not managing symptoms, a complete shift of identity, of energetic signal. Let's look at the hidden cost of living in fix-it mode. First, it fragments your attention. You're perpetually scanning for problems, and your nervous system treats each one as a micro threat. Even small inconveniences are flagged as problems. That drains life force faster than you realize. Second, it locks you into linear time. The implications of this go so deep. Fix-it mode is incremental. Identify, analyze, solve, repeat. That linearity is ruthless. No surprises, no leaps, no immediate openings, just one foot in front of the other up an endless staircase of self-improvement toward some assumed summit or next level. And worst of all, you keep the problem alive. You can't fix something without holding an image of what's broken. To keep working on it, you must keep energizing it. Every attempt at improvement is also a rehearsal and confirmation of what's wrong. You're feeding the very reality signal you want to stop broadcasting. And this is why you feel stuck on the treadmill of growth, always working on yourself, never inhabiting the change you know in your heart is possible. So what's the alternative? It's what I call composing your reality signal. This isn't a visualization trick or a metaphor. It's a precise energetic process that works through coherence, not correction. At every moment, you're broadcasting a reality signal, and that signal isn't just in your head. It is made up of your thoughts, yes, but also your emotions, your body, your energy field and boundary, your posture, and your very sense of identity. It's the frequency you emanate from your whole being into the reality field around you. Now, here's where you might get tripped up. You imagine that success means generating powerful mental signals, thinking harder, visualizing longer, focusing more intensely, as if sheer concentration could bend reality. But the field doesn't respond to mental brute force. You can push your mind all day and still be broadcasting contradiction. The signal that shapes your reality is systemic. It comes from the coherence of your whole self, mind, body, emotions, nervous system, energetic posture, all humming the same note. When you learn to consciously compose this signal, aligning your entire system around a chosen state, you broadcast that state until it becomes the only reality available to you. And the field isn't responding to your wishes or your affirmations. It's calibrating to your broadcast. And it doesn't lock onto the loudest signal. It locks onto the clearest one. Reality signaling gets around all this. You don't work with problems. You don't diagnose or repair. You compose and transmit the energetic signature of the state you're willing to live from and commit yourself to immediately and fully. Let's use an example to make this tangible and look at how this applies to relationships, for instance. Someone locked in fix-it mode approaches a difficult relationship by analyzing it endlessly. What's wrong with the dynamic? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? What patterns are playing out? What coping strategies can I use to manage the tension? They spend months dissecting grievances, years trying to fix their communication style, and through it all, they remain someone who inhabits a broken relationship dynamic, endlessly working on it. Now, contrast this with someone composing their reality signal. This person decides the energetic signature they're committed to is mutual respect and ease. They learn what that feels like in their body. The breathing pattern, the relaxed, open posture, the emotional tone, the comfort with their own and others' boundaries. And then they broadcast it consistently, not as performance, not as wishful thinking or fantasizing, but as a full-bodied energetic state. Now what happens? The field reorganizes. People who can meet that signal remain. Those who can't fall away. New opportunities appear. Without analyzing or repairing anything, the person inhabits a different relational reality stream. And that's the power of intentional reality signaling. You don't manage the old story, you exit it. So how do you begin? Most people want to start by trying to catch themselves when they're using fix-it mode, catch themselves in the act, and then interrupt it. But here's the problem. If you don't already know what signal you're choosing instead, interrupting fix-it mode just leaves you in limbo. You can't break out of an old broadcast without having a new one to step into. And that's why the real starting point is this: compose your signal. And let me be clear about what that actually means. You're not just choosing better circumstances or daydreaming a nicer outcome. That's the easy entry point, but it's not the signal. The most potent part of composing a reality signal is honing in on the person who inhabits that reality. Who does that person need to be in order for that reality to make sense? What's their emotional posture? What habits and boundaries keep them coherent? How open are they? How steady? That's the level you need to feel into. This is choosing and practicing energetic mastery. Don't think about it. It has to permeate your body. Let your nervous system remember what your chosen state feels like, and then consciously generate that frequency in your body. Lock into the memory of what this state feels like. Remembering goes both ways. You can remember the past and you can remember the future. Yes, you are that magical and reality is that fluid. Most people focus on manifesting an outcome and they really hone in on that outcome. But that's not where the magic happens. The heart of the magic is this: you become the version of yourself that doesn't need that outcome to happen. The version of yourself, the you who wants this outcome to happen, who needs this outcome to happen, is not the one who can actually experience that outcome. The magic lies in stepping out of the person who needs and wants this outcome. So the version of yourself that says, I want it, is not actually the version of yourself that can have it, that will have it. And that letting go of the current version of yourself is the hardest thing to do. And that's why people, they just stay focused on the thing that they want, the outcome. They try to imagine it so clearly and so vividly, when what you need to do is turn that focus on the person who is able to experience that outcome. Now, once you have this person, this version of yourself clear, transfer what is essential about you, your spirit, your love, your genius, your devotion, your life force into that new identity. Connect with the energetic signature of the identity you are willing to commit yourself to, dedicate yourself to. You're not becoming it. You're being it immediately. There is no incremental process. There's no 0 to 60. You compose it, you choose it with your entire being, you dedicate yourself to it, and then you inhabit it. And here's the part most people avoid. You can't step into the new signal while keeping a hand on the old one. You can't bring your current identity with you. That's the critical point, because stepping into the new broadcast isn't an upgrade of the old. It's the death of the old, which means the signal you've been rehearsing disappears. That's why I said this is a discontinuous process of transformation, because the old identity doesn't gradually improve into the new one. It disappears. You let it go, and the new signal takes its place. And that's why this is simple, but not easy. It's not easy. Everyone wants the new identity and the new reality, but most insist on carrying themselves across as the person they currently are. You want to be the person who gets to enter and live in the new reality. But the stark reality is that you, the person you are now, can't. And your unwillingness to abandon your current identity is exactly what makes the leap fail. And once you've composed that new signal, the real practice begins, because the old broadcast won't just politely disappear. For a while, it retains a kind of residual gravity that will keep trying to reassert itself through the familiar signals of fix-it mode. So next, you need to recognize when fix-it mode tries to spin up. You'll know it by the familiar signals, the dissatisfaction, the restless scanning for what's wrong, the inner critic or the inner complainer whispering the same old grievances, trying to measure whether it's working or not. That's your cue. You've slipped into the old broadcast. And then you need to interrupt. Don't feed the loop when you catch it. Reconfigure your body and energy stance. Open your posture, slow and deepen your breath. Name out loud what's happening. This is fix-it mode. This is the synthetic mind trying to engage again. This is the residual gravity of the previous signal. Just say that. Just name it. That act of naming breaks the momentum and creates space for your new signal to stabilize. Now, transmit and hold that signal. Your new reality signal has its own center of gravity, its own powerful magnetism, and you need to recalibrate to it. Reestablish full coherence with it. Immerse yourself until it saturates your whole field. Let yourself marinate in it. Don't monitor for results. The moment you check whether it's working, you collapse back into fix-it mode. Just let your signal grow and strengthen and transmit out into the field. And finally, express. Let your words, gestures, your breath, posture, and your choices flow naturally from your broadcast, not as forced behavior change, but as the natural overflow of coherence. This is where micro-alignment matters most. Small, aligned acts carry more weight than big, frantic gestures. And when you fluctuate, and you will, remind yourself that mastery isn't in perfection or being someone who never slips or wobbles. It's about how quickly you return. Every return strengthens the new signal. Every return makes it easier to hold, easier to trust, easier to anchor into the fabric of your life. Composing and broadcasting your reality signal operates from a completely different premise than fix-it mode. Instead of assuming something is broken and needs repair, it assumes you have the capacity to consciously create your energetic state. You have the power to choose something new, rather than fix what currently exists. Instead of working with problems, you're working with possibilities. Rather than being reactive to your current circumstances, you're being generative of new ones. This is an act of conscious creation rather than repair. But here's the key. Signal broadcasting requires you to let go of your investment in the problem and the identity, the version of yourself that was invested in it. You can't simultaneously transmit calm authority and remain psychologically attached to your anxiety story. You can't transmit wealth while holding on to scarcity as your identity and your core belief about your reality. This is why fix-it mode feels safer to most people. It allows you to keep your problems while working on them. And in a perverse way, it gives you a feeling of control. Composing your reality and broadcasting a fresh signal requires you to become energetically unavailable for the old pattern and the old identity entirely. And this is why you're not willing to do it. Even if you say you are, chances are your willingness is superficial. When faced with what you have to give up, you retreat to safer, more familiar ground. And that's not an indictment. It's just the way we are. Our nervous systems hold fast to the familiar. In episode 20, which was all about creating intentional reality frames, I mentioned that you must train your nervous system to accept a new signature, which is asking a lot. It's asking a system that's designed to maintain the known, the familiar, to trust you enough to accept something entirely new. You need to step up and become someone you can trust, become inwardly trustworthy. When you do this, when you really develop your personal authority and radical self-honesty, your nervous system will follow your lead. Until then, it will resist vehemently. It says, "Oh, no, you don't. It's my job to keep us safe, keep us in familiar, workable territory." Now, why does this matter so much? Because composing your reality requires a level of energetic honesty that most people avoid. And when I say most people, I mean you. You might think, not me, I'm 100% on board with ditching my current reality. This is where you have to be ruthlessly honest with yourself. You have to be willing to see yourself clearly. You're more attached to working on your problems than you are to actually changing them. You have to catch yourself when you're unconsciously choosing the familiar discomfort of fix-it mode over the uncertainty of energetic transformation. Most people say they want change, will do anything for it, but what they really want is to feel productive about their problems. Think about that for a moment. They want the sense of progress and control that comes from analysis and strategy without the radical shift that comes from broadcasting something completely different and then stepping into a new reality, a new identity, a new self. Composing your reality forces you to confront a fundamental question. Are you ready to stop being the person who has this problem? Because if you're not, if you're still psychologically invested in your patterns, your story, your familiar struggle, then fix-it mode will feel more comfortable, safer. You can stay busy working on yourself without ever risking the complete identity shift that real transformation requires. Fixing also keeps you tied to your past, because what you're fixing is usually what got bent, twisted, or broken in the wake of someone else's harm. The strange thing is, you may not actually want to give up the work of fixing because, and this is crazy, but this really applies to most people, because if you stop identifying as damaged, it can feel like you're letting them get away with it, the people who harmed you. Your nervous system runs a kind of broken logic. If I'm no longer hurt, then maybe what they did wasn't actually that bad. If I didn't have to spend decades repairing the wreckage, then maybe it wasn't a real injury to begin with. Of course, that's false, but it's a deeply ingrained way that we hold on to trauma, almost like proof of how bad it really was. And that's where the attachment lives. By keeping the damage alive, you also keep alive the indictment. The ongoing need to fix yourself becomes a way of holding court against the people or circumstances that hurt you. And as long as you are still visibly broken, the case is still open. But here's the cost. That indictment doesn't bind them, it binds you. It ties your energy to the wound and keeps you broadcasting the very signal that you want to escape. This doesn't mean the harm never happened. It did. But when you release the identity of the injured self, those events no longer have a hold on you. They no longer get to define you or claim you. What happened is part of history, but it's not the broadcast you live inside. And I want to be clear, fix-it mode isn't inherently bad. It's a useful tool when your car breaks down, when you need a concrete skill, when you're solving a logistical problem. The problem isn't fix-it mode itself. It's using it as your default, always on, always shaping your reality. Sometimes life requires a mechanic, but sometimes it requires a magician. Most people never learn to switch fluidly between these two states. They live and die in fix-it mode because anything else feels exotic, mystical, fantastical. So they dabble, they fantasize, they wish, but they never commit. But the truth is, broadcasting your reality signal is ordinary, mundane. You're doing it right now. The only question is whether you're broadcasting a reality that's configured by default or by choice. If you're at the point where you're truly ready to accept that composing your reality is quite ordinary and that you're doing it all the time, whether you know it or not, the possibilities really open up for you. Right now, you're holding a reality frame and you're broadcasting its signal. So it's not like you have to learn to do something you've never done before. You already know what it feels like to do this. You just have to learn to be conscious and intentional about it. And once you understand the basics, broadcasting your new reality signal becomes a regular practice in energetic mastery. You start to realize that your relationships, your opportunities, your challenges, the way you perceive yourself, what you give or deny yourself permission to experience, they're all reflections of your energetic signature. Now, this doesn't mean you're responsible for everything that happens to you, but it does mean that you have far more influence over your experienced reality than you believe. Here's the part that undermines everything you've been taught. Real transformation doesn't require struggle, work, or time. Did you get that? Your first reaction might be relief. I mean, who wants to struggle and chip away at the monolith of their problems for half a lifetime just to see some little light on the other side? Well, my dear, you do. Yes, I hate to say it, but people hate struggle, work, and time, and yet they're deeply attached to this paradigm of struggle, work, and time. Our entire culture is built on the fix-it assumption. Identify problems, work hard to solve them, measure progress, repeat. But you don't need to analyze every trauma. You don't need years of incremental improvement. Imagine a new paradigm where you can simply choose to stop inhabiting and broadcasting the old signal and instead hold the new one until reality organizes around it. And of course, I say simply, and it is simple, but it is not easy because of the attachments I outlined earlier and the reluctance of the nervous system to take direction from you until you've earned trust. This is why I said back in episode 20, when we talked about intentional reality frames, that you must train your nervous system to accept a new signature. And that's a heavy lift. It's not the mechanics of composing and transmitting a reality signal that are difficult. It's your willingness to become unavailable for the familiar identity you've been rehearsing your whole life. And that's what mastery is, not solving all your problems, but becoming unavailable for the patterns that create them in the first place. If you want to try this, begin small. Choose one place in your life where you've been grinding away in fix-it mode, pacing the same cage, polishing the same bars. Instead of rehearsing the problem yet again, ask yourself, what signal do I want to broadcast instead? Then compose it, embody it, broadcast it. And when the synthetic mind buzzes in like a wasp at the window, insistent and loud, tempting you back into analysis, self-criticism, grievance rehearsals, remember this. You're not fixing reality anymore. You're transmitting the one you've already chosen. Not someday, not after you've logged enough progress. Now, you're releasing your old allegiance to time. Don't fixate on outcomes. Direct your attention to the state you want to inhabit. What would it feel like? How would your breath move? How would you hold yourself if you weren't locked into this problem? Your posture becomes less a defense and more a resting place. This isn't about thinking your way into a new reality signature. It's about letting your body move into it, inhabit it without reason, justification, or proof. Spend time composing that signal. Let it ripple out of you like heat rising from a stone. Let your body luxuriate in it. Practice broadcasting even when nothing outside has shifted. And when the synthetic mind starts winding up again, trying to drag you back into fix-it mode, pause. In that moment, you have a choice. Collapse back into struggle, or keep transmitting the signal you've chosen. Keep choosing it. It's not one grand gesture or one moment of high magic. It's a choice, moment by moment, like striking a match again and again to light the frame that you've committed to. You decide in the moment, you choose which reality you commit your love, your energy, your creativity, your genius, your life to. And by genius, I mean it in the Roman sense, not your cleverness, not your intellect, but the guiding spirit that carries your vitality, the ember that never goes out, waiting only for your breath to grow brighter. This is what your life is. Not a ledger of events stretched between birth and death, but the brushstroke you're laying down right now. It's just this moment. what you commit to in this moment is your life. See what happens when you redirect your energy from fixing reality to consciously composing the signal you want to live inside. When you truly understand how to broadcast a composed, intentional reality signal, something remarkable happens. You stop trying to improve yourself. You stop trying to fix yourself, not because you've become perfect, but because improvement becomes irrelevant. You're no longer working with a deficient version of yourself that needs upgrading. Your focus is about choice and intention, love and devotion. You're consciously composing and broadcasting who you choose to be in this moment, in the next moment. Where is there space for the critical inner voice in this setup? One of the side effects of practicing this kind of energetic mastery is the internal bully fades out without any direct effort or focus on your part. You're not engaged in measuring yourself. You're entirely engrossed in singing the song of your chosen reality. In a sense, your inner critic just becomes deplatformed. Another fortunate side effect is permission, the freedom to feel your emotions fully without needing to fix or justify them. Anger, grief, joy, desire. The whole human range becomes open and available again. Being in fix-it mode clamps that down, but when you release yourself from its grip, your emotional life opens up. To live the full texture of your emotional life without being ruled by it, that's the practice. That's the mastery. And that's how you finally inhabit the freedom that no amount of fixing could ever deliver. If you recognize yourself in the endless cycle of fix-it mode and you want to step into the kind of sovereignty that comes from composing your reality signal, you'll definitely want to subscribe to my newsletter and check out my courses where I share practical tools for developing energetic mastery. Thank you for spending this time with me today, and I'll talk to you again soon.